The Candy House. Once upon a time, in a deep and whispering forest where the trees tickled the sky and squirrels danced between the branches, there lived two children named Hansel and Gretel. They were kind, clever, and loved exploring the woods near their humble little cottage. Hansel was 10, full of curiosity, and always had a pocket full of pebbles. Gretel was 8, bright as a sunbeam, and never went anywhere without her red ribbon and a book of forest flowers. Their parents were woodcutters who worked hard to keep their family warm and fed. But one particularly long and bitter winter, food became scarce. Snow fell endlessly, covering the ground like powdered sugar, and even the birds flew away to find warmer lands. The family grew hungrier each day, until one night their stepmother whispered to their father by the fire,
"We have no more food. We cannot feed the children. Tomorrow we must take them deep into the forest and leave them there."
Never! They are just children.
But the stepmother insisted.
"If we don't, we will all starve."
Hansel, who hadn't quite fallen asleep, heard every word. His heart pounded, but he stayed quiet. In the morning, as the stepmother prepared a small loaf of bread for each child, Hansel filled his coat pockets with smooth white pebbles he'd collected by moonlight. Their parents led them into the forest, deeper and deeper, until the path was lost behind them. When the adults turned away, Hansel and Gretel sat beneath a tree, waiting. But Hansel had been clever along the way. He had dropped the pebbles, one by one. As soon as the moon rose, the pebbles gleamed like stars on the forest floor, guiding them all the way back home. Their father was overjoyed to see them, but the stepmother frowned.
"Next time we must go farther."
A few days later, it happened again. But this time, Hansel could not find Pebbles now, had buried everything. Instead, he broke his bread into crumbs and dropped those along the way. But oh, he didn't know that birds would eat every single crumb. When night came, there was no trail to follow.
"We're lost,"
Gretel whispered, clutching Hansel's hand. Hansel nodded, trying to be brave.
"Don't worry. We'll find our way."
They wandered through the dark woods, past gnarled trees and frozen streams, until the sky turned orange with dawn. That's when they saw, rising between two twisted trees, was the most marvelous house they had ever seen. The roof was made of chocolate tiles, the walls of gingerbread, the windows of spun sugar, and the chimney puffed out sweet vanilla smoke. Peppermint sticks framed the doors, and colorful gumdrops lined the path like stepping stones.
"A candy house. Let's try a piece."
They each broke off a corner of the wall sweet, crunchy gingerbread and nibbled happily. But just as Hansel reached for a candy window, the door creaked open. An old woman with silver hair and sparkling eyes stood there, leaning on a sugar cane.
"Well, well, two hungry little birds pecking at my house. Come in, there's plenty more inside."
Hansel and Gretel hesitated, but the warmth of the house and the smell of cinnamon drew them in. Inside, it was even more magical caramel couches, marshmallow pillows, and jelly bean chandeliers. The old woman gave them bowls of warm chocolate milk and apple pie. That night, she tucked them into feather-soft beds and whispered,
Sleep well, sweet children. You're safe here.
but the truth was far from sweet. The old woman was no kind granny, was a wicked witch who built the candy house to lure children. The next morning, when Hansel woke, he was no longer in the warm bed, but inside a cage made of peppermint bars.
Hansel.
You'll stay in there, boy. I'll fatten you up with treats, and when you're plump enough into the oven, you go.
Please let him go.
You, girl, will do chores until it's time.
Each day, the witch fed Hansel cake and sweets, while Gretel swept, scrubbed, and washed. But Gretel wasn't just afraid, she was also clever. She knew they had to escape. Every day, the witch would feel Hansel's finger through the bars to see if he was fattening up. But Hansel had another trick. He held out a thin chicken bone he found under his bed. The witch, nearly blind, thought he was still too skinny.
Bah! Still scrawny.
She muttered each morning. Weeks passed, and the witch grew impatient.
I've had enough. Fat or not, it's time to bake.
She dragged Gretel into the kitchen and pointed to the oven.
Open it. I want to check the heat.
But Gretel knew the witch planned to shove her in. Gretel pretended not to understand.
I don't know how. It's too heavy.
Foolish girl. Watch, this is how you do it.
And the moment the witch bent over, Gretel pushed her into the oven and slammed the door shut. The witch screamed and thrashed, but the door was sealed with a gumdrop lock. The fire roared. In moments, all that was left was smoke and a faint scent of burnt sugar. Gretel ran to the cage and freed Hansel. They hugged tightly, tears running down their cheeks.
We did it.
But that wasn't all. In the witch's bedroom, they found a chest filled with gold coins, jewels, and sparkling stones.
We can take this home. We'll never be hungry again.
They packed the treasure into 2 sugar sacks and followed a path out of the forest that had been hidden behind the house. Birds chirped cheerfully, as if showing them the way. At last, after many days of walking, they saw their cottage. Their father ran out the door.
Hansel! Gretel! You're alive!
He swept them into his arms, weeping with joy. Their stepmother, however, was gone, having fled in guilt and shame. Hansel opened one sack.
We brought something for you.
When their father saw the gold and jewels, his eyes widened. From that day forward, they lived happily and comfortably. Hansel and Gretel never went hungry again, but they never forgot the lessons they'd learned, that cleverness, courage, and kindness could overcome even the darkest magic. And every year, when the forest bloomed again, Hansel and Gretel would walk to the edge of the trees, holding hands, and smile.
Let's never eat a house again. Unless it's made by Mama.
And the birds above would chirp in agreement.